Now, accounting and reporting and auditing. This will wake you up. This is exciting stuff. And since I talked to you about the federal government, let me just give you a few things and we'll go to Q&A. We have to promote more transparency, better align our incentives, and enhance our accountability if we want to maximize performance, if we want to mitigate risk, and if we want to assure positive outcomes, both for today and tomorrow. Obviously, in the private sector, we're doing that to try to grow the economy and assure the effectiveness of the capital markets. In the public sector, to ensure the prudence, the credibility of the government and its responsiveness to the citizens. In the not-for-profit sector, to make sure that contributors are getting value for money and that the organization is doing what it says it's going to do. So all of these are critical elements. But it's also important to keep in mind that these are critical elements not just with regard to our domestic issues but also international issues, because today the U.S. is 23% of the global economy and going down, rather than over 50% of the global economy as it was at the end of World War II. We are still the dominant player, but we are not the only player, and we need to recognize that reality. The government has a number of high-risk areas. It's got the fiscal challenges that I've just talked to you about. It doesn't have a plan. It doesn't have outcome indicators. It's let itself grow to a point far beyond what the founders envisioned, to do things that, frankly, one could question under the Constitution. But the bottom line is it's not going to, it needs to basically step back and to start asking tough choices about what's working, what's not working, what is affordable, what is sustainable over time, what do we need to eliminate, what do we need to consolidate, what do we need to better target. There's no question about that. And the longer we wait to do it, the more difficult it's going to be. I've already talked to you, but this provides more details about some of the things that we need to do with regard to financial reporting, performance and metrics, as well as the budget controls. So let me move to this aspect of accounting and reporting. Look, in my view, just as we need to transform the government, we need to transform accounting and reporting and a test and assurance. We're in the process of starting to do that, and I don't mean just for the government, I mean overall, private sector as well as the not-for-profit sector. And in my view, we have to focus on three dimensions. We have to move towards creating standards that are more principle-based standards with appropriate guidance, that from an accounting and reporting standpoint provide generic information that are applicable to all types of entities, industry-specific information, and entity-specific value and risk-related information. Now, one of the reasons I say that is if you're going to judge performance, whether it's a country, a company, or an individual, you need to have three things. How are you performing based on standards? Are you getting better or worse? And how do you compare to your peer group? And if you don't know all three, you don't know how you're doing. And so therefore, from a financial reporting standpoint and otherwise, you need all that type of information, and we need to be focusing on value and risk. It's not just historical cost and what fair market value is estimated to be. And it's not just where we stand as of a point in time and what the historical accumulation of all past periods has been. It's also what do we think things look like going forward. Now, we're not doing the projections, and obviously the degree of assurance that you can provide to that is totally different than things that are based upon the present and the past. But we need to be looking forward more, and we need to try to be able to figure out ways that there's more forward-looking information for a reasonable period of time, and we must focus much more on performance. What are the results? Not just financial results. For the federal government in particular, we don't have a stock. If we did, we wouldn't be doing too well right now. We do have debt, all right? It's assumed to be AAA. We can debate that, whether it should be. I don't think it will be over time if we don't start putting our house in order, but it is right now, and we benefit from having the single largest global reserve currency, and we benefit from having the most stable political system and rule of law and, having the largest economy. But, we've been relying on that too long. We need to start putting our own fiscal house in order. But the fact is when you look at the federal government, what are we getting for our money? We spend trillions of dollars, lose $1 trillion plus for tax preferences. What are we getting out of that? You got to have performance information. And my view is that that's something that we need to be thinking about, not just with regard to government, but in other sectors, if you will. Market share data, leading indicators with regard to, value and risk issues. Whether they be customer base, whether they be the human capital base, things of that nature.